If we continue down the path of poorly defining what makes a great leader, what you'll end up with is a bunch of people who focus on learning the wrong skills first, and they'll get into leadership positions and fail because they thought it was all about style and sociability, and it's not. What's up, you guys? Something I've seen a lot of lately is people posting about what makes a great leader. The vast majority of these posts have nothing to do with leadership and everything to do with how the leader makes them feel. And I'll give you some examples. One of the big ones that I've seen a lot of lately is great leaders lead with empathy, or great leaders lead from the front, or great leaders are in the trenches with their troops, right? None of these things have anything to do with leadership. All of them have to do with soft skills and styles that make people feel good about the leader. So all leaders live in three contexts. The first context is the station that they hold. The second context is the style in which they lead in. And the third context is their sociability. Now the question is there a hierarchy to this? What I'm seeing online is that most people are prioritizing the style and the sociability over the station. And I think a lot of that is because they actually don't even understand that the station part is the highest criteria. It's the highest priority. And let me give you an example. So if you think of station as the function that the leader is appointed to perform, then you could use a pilot as a good kind of interchangeable example here. So imagine you get onto a plane. We're going to do two samples. Sample A, you get onto a plane. The pilot is rude throughout the entire flight. It's bumpy and it's kind of like just not a great experience. But you hit a storm and the pilot navigates through the storm and he gets you home safely. Okay, so the pilot managed to get you from point A to point B, facing adversity, making difficult decisions, and was able to navigate through the difficulty and get you to the destination you needed to arrive at safely. So in his station, he succeeded by every single metric. He was successful as a leader because he performed the task that he was hired to perform as a pilot, right? Delivering you from point A to point B. Same thing for a leader. If a leader is given the mandate from their stakeholders, whether that's the board, whether that's the shareholders, whether it's the US government, doesn't matter, right? Wherever the stakeholders are, they have given a leader a mandate, a mission that they are supposed to accomplish. That is the criteria that dictates whether they were successful, whether they were effective or ineffective as a leader in their station, okay? Now let's take pilot B. So second scenario here. You get on the plane, pilot greets you at the door. He's the nicest guy you've ever met. When he gets on the intercom at the beginning and does the rundown, he's funny, he's jovial, he's enjoyable, all of the stuff that you look for, right? He meets the style points and he meets the sociability side. But when he hits a storm, he's not calm under pressure, he loses his grip and he accidentally crashes a plane and everybody dies. Okay, so that leader failed at his station. His first priority was to get you from point A to point B safely, and he failed at that. And so as a result, his style and his sociability becomes completely irrelevant because he failed at the highest criteria, highest mandate, which was to fulfill his station as a pilot. The same thing is true of a leader. And so leader is a function and a role. It is not an idea or a concept, because whether a person is an effective leader or not is entirely based on whether they succeed at the mission that they had, which is operationalizing the people and resources to achieve the goal that they were appointed as a leader to achieve. If they did that, then they succeeded as a leader. They were an effective leader. And if they didn't, they were an ineffective leader. Style and sociability is irrelevant if they miss the first one. Now, let's look at it from the other side. If they get the first one, if they manage to be successful on the station, and they can do it with a great leadership style or an enjoyable leadership style, and they are able to be sociable and communicate with people with empathy and all of the things that we all desire out of a great leader, right? Then if they have all three of those, they are an exceptional leader. In fact, this is why it's so difficult when you get into the concepts of leadership and you start just throwing all these random tropes out about what makes a great leader. The truth of the matter is, a leader who can do all three of those is the top 1 of 1%. This is such an incredibly rare human being, because to have the grit that is required to make tough calls when you have to fire people because that is what's necessary to continue growing or to achieve the mission, when you have to fire great people who didn't deserve to be fired simply because of the fact that that is what is necessary in order for the team to progress and achieve the target. When you have to make those kinds of decisions, firing your friends to keep a brave face and hold all of the tension of what's going on behind the scenes that nobody else knows about and not pass any of that on to the team, you don't realize oftentimes leaders have to bear the weight of all of the bullcrap that's actually happening behind the scenes, and nobody ever knows how close they were to destruction because the leader is holding all of that back so that you can continue to operate and have a non-toxic workplace. Toxic, right? So I make this point because not to call out the employees for overemphasizing the wrong things about leadership. I make this point because if we continue down the path of poorly defining what makes a great leader, what you'll end up with is a bunch of people who focus on learning the wrong skills first, and they'll get into leadership positions and fail because they thought it was all about style and sociability, and it's not. It is first and foremost about station and having the grit and ability to do the necessary and difficult things first. The ability to operationalize people and resources to get to the outcome, to achieve the mission no matter what. That is your job as a leader first, assuming that's what the stakeholders are giving you. Now, some stakeholders are going to say, we want you to create a great culture and that's all that matters to us. And if that's the case, then by all means, style and sociability, super important, create a great culture, all that stuff, right? But again, I mean, even in that situation, sometimes creating a great culture means getting rid of great people who just don't fit the culture. And so that sometimes becomes the difficulty of the station side of this. And if you can't fulfill that mandate, you're going to fail as a leader, and it doesn't matter anyway. So I'm laboring this point because I want those of you out there that are looking for leadership roles and looking for leadership opportunities to understand how to prioritize what you need to learn first. First and foremost, master station before anything else. Then you start to master style, and then you can start to master sociability. All three of these super important, but if you're a leader, just remember that you need to do them in the right hierarchy. If you're an employee or a person who is not looking to be in a leadership role and you would rather be in like an execution role, then what you need to consider is, what are your goals? If you don't have a particular target that you're aiming at, there's not a particular destination that you're trying to get to, then yeah, by all means, prioritize style, prioritize sociability. These are going to be super high priorities for you because you want to be with a leader that you enjoy, that creates an environment that you like to work within. And I get that, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, if you are somebody that has goals, you have a specific destination that you want to arrive at, a location you would like to get to, find a leader who is exceptional at their station first. Don't worry about sociability. Don't worry about style. Focus purely on station. Find a leader that wins and wins consistently, and go work for that person, because that person will show you how to get to where you're trying to go. So that's, I think, the biggest advice I could give to you if you're an employee who has a very specific goal or targets that you're trying to get to. Prioritize station over style and sociability. And for God's sakes, can we just dispense with all of the overgeneralization about what makes a great leader? Because ultimately, it's all nonsense. What makes a great leader is a person who is able to effectively operationalize their people and resources to achieve the goal. That's what makes a great leader. What makes an exceptional top 1%, unbelievably rare, vast majority of you will never, ever, ever work for a leader like this, is somebody who can do all three well. Because when you have all three, it allows you to go places that nobody else on the planet can go. So if you're a leader or you're an aspiring leader and you're looking for help to develop in that area, visit my website, devinwilborn.com, get unstuck. Happy to help you break out and add some additional skills and things that you need to get to that next level. Or if you have a team or you've got a leader on your team and maybe they're stuck and they're just not able to get to that next level, also happy to jump in and work with you there to see what we can do. So devinwilborn.com, make sure to check it out. Till then, see you next time.